Hello, and welcome to another edition of Fansview Fridays. Today we're going to look at Anime Central 1999, which took place on April 23rd to 25th over in Rosemont. And here we have Kenichi Sonata and Yuji Moriyama join fans at the Ramada Plaza Hotel O'Hare. And if this is your first time checking out Fansview Fridays, this is a weekly live stream where we talk about conventions of the 90s and 2000s as told by the late Kevin Lillard. Kevin Lillard ran a website called Fansview, and Fansview was like the hub of anime convention reports, cosplay photos. He would go to these conventions almost every weekend in the United States to take photos of cosplayers, take photos of guests of honor, cover panels, and this is essentially a time capsule of fandom in the 90s and 2000s. Unfortunately, his website is no longer live on fansview.com. However, most of his reports are preserved on web.archive.org, and my mission here is to preserve much of his memories, much of what he wrote about anime conventions, so they are not lost in the ether. And my mission here for you is to help you understand what anime conventions were like back then, or if you attended these conventions, let me know in the comments. I'd like to hear some of your stories. So, without further ado, let's start on day one. Looks like we have an image of Miss Raleigh Vincent over there. All right, there was a strong collection of people who arrived early to enjoy the second Anime Central from the very beginning. And for the record, I actually did attend Anime Central in 2001. And if you read my book, if you buy my book, more information in the About, you can read about my experience at Anime Central 01 and 02 and further. This was the first sight of the parking lot of the Ramada Plaza O'Hare Anime Central site for 1999. The House of Anime store painted a motorhome as a rolling billboard and pointed it out at the front of the lot, where the passing traffic on the city street and the nearby tollway could see it. These huge pictures of Hyper Police, Saber Marionette, and Slayer's characters were spotted by thousands of Chicagoland motorists during the convention weekend. 5:30 on Friday morning, and the first convention fans were fast asleep, waiting for the registration lines to open. While in the dealer room, convention chair Maria Ryder waits for the show to begin. When racing driver Jacques Villeneuve, I should know how to pronounce his last name, the same guy who directed Dune. Well, not the guy who directed Dune. Jacques Villeneuve dyed his hair blonde. It started a trend. Who would have ever thought that Carl Horn of Viz Communications, the first industry person spotted at the convention on Friday morning, would go for the bleach blonde look? There was a speculation that Horn had succumbed to the years of overexposure to Japanese art and had, in a desperate rush of self-justification, he decided to go for a head of anime hair. I also wanted to point out that bleach blonde hair was also the style at the time in the late 90s and early 2000s. Horn was shown in the hall that was used for fan registration at Anime Central. Boxes full of badges for registered fans were placed on tables on Friday morning as the first line started to form. Registration started 3 minutes before the announced 9 a.m., although that didn't break the unofficial NecoCon record of opening registration nearly 2 hours early. After the opening registration rush, there were no long lines spotted on Friday. If you wanted long lines, you had to go to the Ramada's lobby, where dozens of people had to wait to check into their rooms at the sold-out hotel. Just in time for Anime Central, Chicago presented its visitors with a raw and cold weekend. Thursday left rain puddles like this that still remain on Friday. The famed Chicago wind, howling off of Lake Michigan, slipped past windows and made for a chilly opening day. That didn't slow fans at all. Most of those people were on hand when the convention was declared underway at the Friday morning opening ceremonies. Bubblegum Crisis meets Project Eiko Kenichi Sonata, a fan of Chicago who made the city star in his Gunsmith Cat series, returned for the second straight Anime Central. Sonata's character and hardsuit designs for Bubblegum Crisis entranced many new anime fans in the 1980s, and those missed by Bubblegum Crisis were delighted by the wacky humor of Project Eiko, directed by Yuji Moriyama, attending a U.S. convention for the first time. Tsukasa Kotobuki, who created the characters for Samurai J and Battle Arena Toshinden, made his second straight visit to Anime Central, and his first since Radio Comics started publishing his Mechanical Man and Blues manga in the U.S. American artist Daniel Kanemitsu was on hand to translate and to sell copies of his new book on the history of doujinshi, the Japanese fan comics that started the careers of most of the major manga professionals. With Kotobuki were Hirotaka Okuma, an artist who was much a surprise guest at Anime Central 99, as Daikin Yoko O was in 1998. Yoko O, one of Kotobuki's assistants, insisted on coming back to Rosemont, Illinois. The first Revolutionary Girl Utena poster was autographed at the opening ceremonies, and the honors were handled by English language actors for the dub series. Signing the poster was Leah Applebaum, Nanami in Utena, and waiting for Applebaum to finish was Rachel Lillis, who has the title role of Utena. On top of those roles, both actors are a part of the hit Pokemon series. Lisa Ortiz in the original English language Lena Inverse and Slayers was just out of the frame. The Right Stuff, the Iowa-based anime importer, is putting a lot of emphasis on the irresponsible Captain Tyler series they plan to release in 1999. They used Anime Central to promote Tyler by bringing the lead character's English language voice, Crispin Freeman, to the convention. Many times, this page has featured the antics of actor Amanda Wynn Lee. For the first time, there is equal time for other half of the married acting couple, husband Jason Lee. Both have handled roles in ADV productions, and they're still married. Lorraine Reyes created the look of ADV films, creating the packaging for many of the tapes sold by the Texas anime importer. She even designs computer games and has been coaxed into a recording booth to handle ADV voiceover work. Anime Week in Atlanta throws candy into the audience at the opening ceremony, as befits a metro area with two Major League Baseball teams. Anime Central decided to start a new tradition in Chicagoland and throw out the first Pokemon. The strong arm of artist Robert D. Jesus was chosen for this important task. I wonder if they still partake in this tradition. It's been a while since I've ever attended an opening ceremonies at Anime Central. We start hearing from Anime Central's guests of honor with some words from Yuji Moriyama. It's not just an internet legend, Yuji Moriyama said at Anime Central on Friday evening. It really happened. The famed anime Project Eiko was really intended to be a part of the Green Lemon Segs series and was turned into a comedy film only when the producers felt it could be successful in that form. Moriyama spent some time on the Cream Lemon shows, including the Pop Chaser film that drew many fans into anime, although they'd never admit that. Project Eiko was a profitable series, and Moriyama would like to see it revive one day. Eiko and another character from a Moriyama film, Nuku Nuku, both have superhuman strength and red hair. At first, Moriyama said that it was just a coincidence, but later he said red hair color can be used to show a character's personality. Zico's hair is blonde, and she's a passive character, and Biko's lavender hair shows a cool, calculating personality. Well, I wonder what that says about my VTuber. Moriyama has a reputation as a director of lighthearted comedies, TTS, Airbats, and Yorosei Yatsura, Remember My Love, and others. Eiko was his response to stories that get too serious. He said, serious stories seem to have a higher priority. That kind of dramatic material has a greater weight with the industry, he said. The light-hearted tone Moriyama likes in his films once meant subliminal, single-frame jokes like the Budweiser labels on the missiles in Eiko. That practice had to be toned down after an animator made a joke about a lum cult. about the Aum cult in Japan just before that cult launched a gas attack on the nation's subways. Moriyama feels that one anime director has an untapped sense of parody, someone you wouldn't expect, Mamoru Oshii, the director of psychological thrillers such as Ghost in the Shell. Oshii was known for parody in his earlier works, Moriyama said, and he thinks Oshii would like to explore that in his next films. Yeah, for like a second year like convention 1999, they sure got a lot of A-listers. And we follow up with some provocative comments from Kenichi Sonata. Artist Kenichi Sonata is a gun buff, wanted to spend some time at a firing range on his second visit to Anime Central, but he didn't have time to make the trip, so rather than firing a gun, Sonata took some shots with his opinions towards the Bubblegum Crisis 2040 television series. Sonata designed the Night Sabers characters in hard suits for the original series in the 1980s, but he wasn't invited back to work on the renewal of the OAV series for the television, and he was not credited for his original designs. That's a sore point with Sonata, and he made sure everyone at Anime Central knew it. Starting right from the opening bell at Anime Central, the convention's opening ceremony, Sonata came out swinging against AIC, the company that produced the new Bubblegum Crisis series. The new hard suits are based on my design, but it's not very convincing, he said. To make it even worse, they didn't even include my name on the opening credits, even though I asked the president of AIC to put it there. Then to make it worse, in the last episode of the series, they completely changed the hard suits. Ugh. Later, Sonata noted that AIC came up upon the rights to revive the Bubblegum Crisis series when Artmic, the original producer, went out of business. AIC helped pay for Bubblegum Crisis, so the rights reverted to them. Bubblegum Crisis 2040 is one of a flurry of renewed and revived anime series, and Sonata thinks the remake Flood probably has more to do with the point that there is not enough new or original material around. Something to think about when we think about revivals of old shows that are coming up here in the present. Sonata said he agrees with the observation of Nove Takahashi from Studio Hard that the rise of Japanese video game industry is draining talent and ideas from the anime industry. One series based on the game, Pocket Monsters, has been a major anime hit in the US and Japan. Sonata remains unimpressed. The proposition is good, but as an animated series, it stinks rotten, he said. Well, there you have it. The guy who invented the term cosplay thinks the Pokemon anime series stinks rotten. Here's a look at Anime Central's first costumers. All right, let's take a look at fandom in Chicagoland in 1999. What can we find? Okay, we got some Slayers cosplayers, always a classic. Okay, we have Darkstalkers. Okay, we have Misato. It's actually a pretty good jacket, especially for the time too, when you had like so many limited materials. Pen, oh my god, it's so adorable, I love it. We have a cat girl. School uniforms. It's really giving some Kogal vibes. Gendo, Eris. Next page. Alright, one of those, it was a style at the time kind of outfits. I'd also probably wear an outfit like this too, like as I age and keep attending conventions. Renoa, back in that time of fandom, Renoa cosplays were fairly popular. Hey, we got Professor Rams in the chat, and he says getting some major Gyaru vibes from those school outfits. Yeah, definitely. A lot of what we kind of associate as Kogal and Gyaru also was peak at this time period as well, especially when you get more into the early 2000s, when you saw those like baggy socks make a comeback, and just not make a comeback, like be much more accessible, because I used to own a few of those. I'm kind of slowly just getting back into gyaru fashion, but in a cozy kind of way. Yeah, we got Aerith, got Sailor Uranus. Scrolling down here. All right, let's go back to day one. We got a taste of day one cosplay fandom and a lesson for those who live for their next anime costume. All right, let's see what people have to say about cosplay here. The fully loaded clothes rack is a sign of the devoted costumer. Prairie Rose Clayton filled this rack for Anime Central with a mixture of old and new costumes for the April event. At a Friday panel, Clayton talked about what she had created. The first creation was a costume she wore of Aurel from Dr. Slump, made out of the couple t-shirts and a custom sewn cap and a piece of cloth shape in Aurel's signature A. I hope I pronounced that name right. I'm not familiar with Dr. Slump. The elaborate looking outfits on the left of the rack are new creations from Sakura Tyson made for Anime Central. They're sewn to an off-the-shelf kimono pattern, authentic except for the obi waist wrap, which is created with metal snaps instead of an intricately woven wound length of cloth. On the right is a two-part Magic Knight Rayearth outfit. The jacket, skirt, and school uniform are made of custom-sewn parts mixed with conventional clothes. The night uniform on the far right was made from scratch. Jeff Rich Lother Tatarek wears an Anime Weekend Atlanta t-shirt honoring the Southern Convention, where he has unveiled his remarkable mecha costumes. The Ingram from Platlabor was made from sections of a plastic foam sheet, cut and colored to match the anime design. There's a lot more to Ingram, but Tatarek brought only the head and shoulders because that's all he could fit into his luggage for the trip north. Part of the challenge of making a mecha costume is to make sure you can get it from your home to the convention, he said. This is the key section of one of Tatarek's most imposing mecha costumes made from a helmet and some sections of a foam sheet. The all-important flowing cape. Mecha costumes create a major challenge for their builders. How do you see out? Some costumers create view holes, some just admit they can't see well enough to move. Either they depend on helpers to get them on and off a cosplay stage, so they set up two-way radio links with spotters who tell them where to step in the mecha costume. Okay, we have a correct pronunciation here. Arali. Arali? Okay. Some fans are not satisfied with buying and reading Japanese comics. They create their own. Anime Central saw a doujinshi gathering on its opening day. All right, what kind of doujins are we looking at here? And hopefully it's safe for work because we're posting this on YouTube. This is one of the most remarkable publications in the manga world. It's a catalog from Comic Market, the twice-a-year gathering of amateur manga artists and costumers in Japan. Larger than most American telephone directories. Who remembers that? The Comic Head catalog highlights the works of thousands of artists who are lucky enough to get a table at the huge convention. Imagine an anime convention the size of the Comidex computer convention that was in Chicago at the same time as Anime Central, and you'll get the scope of Comiket. We were told that this catalog belongs to Kenichi Sonata, long a supporter of the doujinshi art movement. Stormfront Journal, a group of artists that put out their own doujinshi in the US, released a book by artist Daniel Kanemitsu at Anime Central. It's probably the only book on the history of Japanese art form you'll find in the US. It tells or warns fans what to expect if they're lucky enough to go to Comiket. It's a great experience, writes Kanemitsu, but American fans should be ready for the biggest crowds they'll ever see. People at Anime Central's opening day first got some art lessons from professional artists Robert DeJesus and Lorraine Reyes holding a sketch. The fans got some tips on the subtleties of character design and page layout. The artists assembled and sat down to create doujinshi on the spot. The idea was for everyone to agree on the storyline, parcel out one-page assignments, and create a comic in 1 hour. That's been done before at comic conventions, but rarely does it happen at an anime convention. I think nowadays, fast forward to 2025, I don't think this even happens at Comic-Cons these days now. Sad. It took a little more than an hour to create the instant comics. Some artists were finishing their panels during the Friday night karaoke contest, and what an experience that must have been for people trying to draw. This was the result, a small black and white comic that was sold at Anime Central for $1. It wasn't polished or large as a comic at doujinshi, but it was on sale. And like most Japanese publications, it was printed with the pages reading right to left. All right, how about that? Day one. All right, now let's go to day two. Customers waited months for their chance to become a part of the show on Saturday. Here's a collection of morning cosplayers. Okay, we got Darkstalkers, Tuxedo Mask. I assume this is probably like a main event here with all the chairs. Got Duo. It's a tiny Super Sailor Moon. That's adorable. I assume that's Noriko. I assume this is Pretty Sammy or a time traveling Miku. Not sure who this priest guy is. Hey, Zelos. Hidden Lena Inverse. Reihino. Miyaka. Sailor Moon. Some Ray Earth folks. Meow, meow. Rama, girl type and boy type. Cardcaptor Sakura in the uniform. Oh, it's Akane. Not sure who the guy in the red coat is. I want to assume King of Fighters, but it probably isn't. Guys in tuxes. Pikachu just kind of just hanging out there, checking out the program. And it looks like a Yui. Kenshin. I have a feeling this gentleman right here is from Angelic Lair because I recognize the lab coat and the fro. Oh, it's Fu. Also have someone from Escaflowne. Okay. Lena Inverse, Utna. Miyaka. I think some of the benefits of like anime just kind of like having like mostly regular clothes is just like you can just like pick up like pieces like at a Goodwill or at Forever 21 and just kind of like just piece something together that you could find. Or like just get like a Chinese dress like in the dealer's hall or like a local Chinatown and figure out your hair and you can call yourself shampoo. But this guy right here, K2K, not quite sure who you're supposed to be. But again, if anyone knows, drop them in the chat, drop them in the comments. Here are the English language voices from the biggest anime hit in US television history, Pocket Monsters. Hey, remember when we used to call Pocket Monsters? They've been a part of the English language versions of some American fan favorites. Revolution Girl Utena, Slayers, Irresponsible Captain Tyler. They love anime and love acting. But what makes Rachel Lillis, Leah Applebaum, Lisa Ortiz, and Kristen Freeman amazingly popular is their acting in the US adaptation of Pocket Monsters. Known as Pokemon in America, the video game-based show has proven to be the most successful anime series in US television history, and its success has amazed its American voice actors. It's not an exaggeration to say that the Pokemon voices are finding themselves popular beyond their wildest dreams. Lillis, who has the Misty and Jessie roles, said when people learn that she's a Pokemon actor, everyone says, "Oh my god." And they say things like, "I love that episode where Misty gets hypnotized and thought she was a seal." A niece of Lillis wasn't overwhelmed by Pokemon when she saw the pilot episode last year, but now she's a big Pokemon fan who knows more details of the characters than Lillis does. And mothers have come up to me and said it's the only way they can get their kids to get up in the morning because those kids don't want to miss the latest episode of Pokemon. Applebaum was working on the Utena series when she got a call to voice Susie and Erica in Pokemon. She enjoyed the cute character designs but didn't think she was working on a major hit. I didn't think about it until I got a call from my mother who said my junior high school cousin told her that Pokemon was the talk of the bus, she said. When Applebaum was at a restaurant and told a woman about her Pokemon work, the woman demanded that Applebaum give her two autographs right there, one for each of her children. With no other paper handy, Applebaum ended up autographing a couple of the restaurant's order forms. Ortiz was the first Lena Inverse in the dub of Slayers, and said her first experience to Pokemon was a street mural painted on New York City sidewalk. Later, she got the job of voicing various Pokemon characters. One of Ortiz's relatives had told her that Pokemon was widely popular among junior high school students in her neighborhood, and the anime series is turning out to be a guilty pleasure favorite among some adults too. A friend whose children are grown and have moved away from home admitted to Ortiz that she watches Pokemon every morning. Freeman, who has finished work on 8 episodes of the Tyler series for The Right Stuff, rewrites Pokemon translations into scripts that go on the air. He calls the show's concept brilliant in the way that it combines cute characters with a trading card aspect and a sparring between the Pokemon. There's a fighting aspect, but it's not brutal, he said. Freeman notes that there's an element of overacting needed for the anime adaptations and not the underacting that's become popular for TV shows. It's a heightened acting style, he said. It's a matter of acting for the appropriate medium. Another stroll through the halls and another group of fans in costume. There is our friend Sailor Bubba. We have Ray and Asuka. We have Hikaru from Magic Knight Rayearth. It's like just a Candid Kenshin duo there. We have a Magic Knight Rayearth duo over there with Mokona. Okay, we have Ukyo and Miyaka, Mercury and Moon. Yeah, I just love all the magical girlness in all this. Okay, we have something in the chat from Professor Ramses. I wonder where people like Sailor Bubba are still doing stuff in the fandom. I don't know. I haven't heard reports of Sailor Bubba at Anime Central. Then again, I haven't gone to Anime Central in years. We have Duo. We have Sailor Mars. It looks like that's that for this part of Saturday. One of the industry's most prominent character designers made a repeat visit to Anime Central and brought 2 other artists with him. All right, let's check this out. In the center is a man who created a look of Lime, Bloodberry, and Sophia. Tsukasa Kotobuki designed those characters for Saber Marionette J and Battle Arena Toshinden. Other artists who accompanied him to Anime Central were Daikin Yoko O and Hirotaka Okuma. Like a musician who prefers club dates to arena shows, Kotobuki's heart is in the self-published doujinshi where he started as an artist, but his profession is in anime character design. I prefer having the freedom to make my own manga, but I can't make it a living this way, he said at a Saturday interview session. As a person working in the industry, it's frightening. You have to come up with new stuff or you'll be forgotten. A commercial artist can take his work only so far because the producers make the final decisions. Take the Saber Marionette series and Kotobuki's designs. They already were cute to start with, especially the female marionettes Lime, Cherry, and Bloodberry. But they become even cuter for the Saber Marionette X series. The director wanted to gear the show for more for children, so he wanted a more appropriate look, Kotobuki explained. Yoko O was asked about the video game industry in Japan, which has become a competitor with the anime industry for artistic talent. Most artists, when they get famous, quit and go to the video game industry. There's some more money to be made in the game design than in anime production, he noted, agreeing that film production budgets have dropped at the same time that producers and investors put more pressure on animators to create commercial hits. Okay, the costumers just keep on coming on Saturday afternoon. Okay, looks like we have Devil Hunter Yoko. Not quite sure who this gentleman's supposed to be here. Just keep scrolling down. Lena Inverse and Sakura. Looks like we got Shampoo over there. Tuxedo Mask. And I assume Sailor Jupiter. Looks like we have Sakura from Sakura Tyson. Vincent. We have Shampoo. I love how people are just kind of just chilling here in the lobby. We have Umi from Rare Earth. All right, let's move forward on day 2. Dozens of enthusiastic costumers stormed the stage on Saturday night for the second annual Anime Central Masquerade. All right, let's take a look at our masquerade entries. Okay, we got Vincent, a guy with a hammer. I want to say this is Lee Koran from Sakura Tyson. Lena Inverse. Miyaka Yuki. Oh, hey, we have more. We have Uranus and Aerith. Kenshin and White Cloth. Tuxedo Mask. Gendo, kind of doing his thing. Rei and Asuka. Tamehome. Darkstalkers. Got someone from Giant Robo, I want to assume. Not quite sure what this duo is supposed to be right here, but the hair is giving Miku vibes. And I know this precedes Miku. I Want to Learn Magic. Who remembers that anime? That was like my first foray into like boys love and shoujo anime. Not counting Malachite and Zoisite. Yeah, I saw I Want to Learn Magic way before I saw Utena. Ryoga. We have Escaflowne. Not sure what bandana guy is. I want to say Writing Bean, but I'm not sure. We have some Magic Right Ray Earth here in a very serious stance. Anime Central, they had like a lot of masquerade entrants. I remember like the year I went, we had like 50 entries. We have Dennis from Ghost Fighter, or rather Kurama from Yu Yu Hakusho. The way how I grew up with it, it was called Ghost Fighter, and this was Dennis. Darkstalkers. Aw, we have like some broken images. It makes me sad. Princess Mononoke. I kind of like in all these photos, you have like the MC just kind of like just chilling right by the Ramada like podiums. Like, yeah, just chilling here. He's like just checking. He's just like just staring at this guy's hair right here. It's like, yeah, wish I had hair like that. Probably use this herbal essence. We have Kenshin. Looks like this is an armor piece right here. Oh, we have Alita. Like, you don't see Alita a lot these days. That actually makes me happy. Ever notice how Sailor Saturn and Alita look like exactly kind of alike, and there's a little bit of parallelisms? Like, I hate to go off on a random like tangent here, but I was actually thinking about this as I was watching the Alita movie because you have Sailor Saturn and they establish her as a cybernetic organism. Like she's like cyborg, but it's never referenced like ever again. Like, yeah, she's a cyborg, but like it's that side of her is very underutilized. I always forget that fact because she has healing powers. Like, it felt like they couldn't really decide like what part of Saturn's cyborg or cyberneticness they really wanted to explore and utilize. He's like, oh, by the way, she's a cyborg. I know, just like one of my rants with missed opportunities with Sailor Moon Crystal. Like, you establish this, but you don't go forward with it. Slight rant. I have like a lot of Sailor Moon related rants. There's Umi with her friends from Evangelion. I mean, you have time travel with Sailor Pluto. You have Saturn, who's a cybernetic organism. And then you have, like, Chibi Moon as John Connor. We can figure out something here, I'm just saying. And Saturn does have the power to destroy the world. I'm just kind of... What, does that make, like, Tomo Dyson? Anyway, Best of Show went to this Darkstalkers character. And then we had Best Performer went to the Penguin. Ben. So adorable, I love it. They also have like another Darkstalkers award. Looks like this is Jan Scott Frazier's award. Like, oh, there's Jan over there. Rest in peace, Jan. We miss you. Amanda Winley's award obviously went to Evangelion, the duo over there. Kristen Freeman's award will be left unknown. Robert DeJesus' award went to this character here. I don't quite recognize what it's from, but if you know what it's from, definitely mention that in the comments. Please educate me. I might know like some of the popular series of the day, but I probably don't know all of them. Lorraine Reyes' award looks like it went to... Wow, we got Ryoga, Kenshin. Quite random here. The Under 13 award went to Tiny Sailor Moon over here. Yeah, it looks like the Jan Scott Frazier award went to a mix of Bust-a-Move and Darkstalkers characters. So I assume it probably was like a Bust-a-Move, like Darkstalkers skit where they probably did like a battle dance skit type thing. Best Staff Costume. Anime Pavilion Awards. Alright. Looks like it went to Sailor Bubba over there. Alright. Looks like the one that we cannot name is from Dragon Half. And with that said, let's go over to day 3. The last day of Anime Central 1999. We'll start Anime Central's last day with a look of the Sunday costumers. Okay. We have Kenshin here. Oh my god, Doremi! You hardly see Doremi cosplays these days. I love Doremi. Not quite sure what nun is from. Maybe someone in the comments might let us know what this nun is from. We have Rose Bride Utena. I'm going to assume this is Zoisite from Sailor Moon. Okay, we got Neptune and Jupiter. And looks like we're outside for a little bit. We got Tuxedo Mask, Mars, Utena. And looks like that's it for this section for Sunday. Then we'll listen to some of the most intense anime fans talk about their expansion of their favorite hobby. Alright, what kind of expansions are we talking about? Ryan Gavigan and Dave Merrill. I know that guy. I follow him on Blue Sky. Oh, we do have an identification of that nun character. Warrior nun Ariola. They actually made a Netflix series not too long ago. Okay. Are part of the last two waves of anime fandom. Gavigan is on the board of the organization that stages Anime Central, while Meryl has been one of the leaders of Anime Week in Atlanta. Both men came from the anime fandom that developed in the 1980s with shows such as Star Blazers and Robotech. Both men also see the changes in anime fandom that will come from a new generation of favorite shows and new forms of communication. There's the factor of online fandom where people learn about anime through the internet. Gavigan, I hope I'm pronouncing your name right, Ryan, acknowledged that change, but he seems to yearn for an early age of mimeograph fanzines. If you don't have a computer, you can't be an anime fan because you can't get the information, and I think that's a bad thing, he said. Also, there's Pokemon, a program that is bringing a new group of people into anime fandom and into conventions, Gavigan noted. To acknowledge those fans, Anime Central staged a Pokemon call where fans imitated the sounds of their favorite characters. Alright, I want to know in the comments what of the original 151 Pokemon would you have participated as? Meryl likes the influx of young people who, entranced by Pokemon and Sailor Moon, hi Meryl, it's me, have discovered the wider world of anime. It's not something where you have to be a part of a secret society to enjoy it, he said. This is a medium that is a mass medium. American comics are made for a small audience. Japanese animation isn't a small secret thing. And I think just an outside commentary thing here, I think he really nails it right there, because I think that's one of my draws towards anime and manga, because oh hey, there's girly things that really lean into all the femme things, but don't make it feel bad, and it's okay to be very feminine and very girly. That's why I was so drawn to shoujo anime back when I was in middle school. And it looks like Rams in the chat said he would have imitated Snorlax if he was asked to be part of that Pokemon call. So I want to know in the comments, which Pokemon would you have imitated? Gavigan and Meryl agreed that new shows broadcast on U.S. television that appeal to younger fans had meant a young and more female group of anime fans and crowds at conventions. But what will happen in 10 years when the Sailor Moon and Pokemon fans, now in junior high school, are in charge of conventions and take prominent posts in anime fandom? Neither man would hazard a guess on what will happen. I'm going to screenshot this and tag David. A group of expert translators told how they struggle through the confounding complexities of interpreting anime. There is a good chance that the English language translation of your favorite show came from one of these four men. From left to right, there are Neil Nadelman, freelance translator, Dan Kanemitsu, ADV Films, Dave Fleming, Pioneer, and Takayuki Katahashi, Viz. They disagree on the methods they use to create their translation, but they agree that the syntax and grammar of Japanese is radically different than English. Something that is explicit in English is only implied in Japanese, and the translators have to create an interpretation that makes sense. A word-for-word translation wouldn't make any sense, the panel noted. Even words borrowed from English had different meanings in Japanese. Feminist refers to a chivalrous gentleman in Japan. Nadelman noted, and smart means stylish, not intelligent. Puns are notoriously difficult to move from language to language, Nadelman noted, and he used the example of his translation of the way that Lena Inverse was insulted in the first episode of Slayer's TV series. The character was called a Doramata, which Nadelman said meant something bad that a dragon would step on. I didn't want to explain the joke because it took out the humor, he said. Nadelman finally came up with the phrase dragon spooker and even made up an explanation. It was an acronym meaning dragon step passed out of clear revulsion. Nadelman admitted he wasn't totally satisfied with that version of the pun. Some fans think the best way to handle translation is to show the more obscure details in the footnotes in subtitled anime. I'm usually in that camp too, because I get to learn stuff. Kanemitsu, pictured, said that it might work in a comedy, but it won't be effective in a serious drama where viewers need to concentrate on every line. Karahashi was pointedly opposed to footnotes in anime, calling them a cop-out for translators. Then there's the spelling of character names, made complicated because there are two or three systems of romanizing Japanese words, and anime producers don't always follow these rules. Fleming noted that the producers of Vision of Escaflowne instead insisted that the name of a cute cat girl sidekick be spelled Meryl, even though that name often is considered a male name in English. Nailma said that the producers of Giant Robot series wanted the first name of Ginrei to be Farmer, although that's rarely anything but a last name in the US. Kanemitsu added that the name of the series, known as Martian successor Nadeshiko, could, depending on the romanization of the system used, spelled Nadeshiko or Nadeshiko. Karahashi feels that dubs can have translations that are more accurate than subs. Producers have to take into account the reading speed of viewers and the number of characters they can place on screen, and that limits the number of words they can use. Dubs can use more words and to get a line across, limited by the need to match each line with the animation's mouth movements. Director Yuji Moriyama had some more words about his career at the top of the anime industry. The previous trip made by anime director Yuji Moriyama to the US was to see Disneyland. Anime Central was a remarkably different experience, he said on the convention's final day. This is a little more intense, said Moriyama. The fans are very cheerful. The fans in Japan are more withdrawn compared to the people here who are more outgoing and lively. Moriyama's philosophy toward animation is the same as legendary American animators such as Chuck Jones and Tex Avery. They all made films that they enjoyed and hoped that the others would find films entertaining. I've been infatuated with making material I enjoy, and I never expected my works to be so appealing to the American audience, he said. The emotions carry a story, Moriyama said. I would like them, the audience, to cry, then laugh. I would like to coax the audience to enjoy the film so much that their guts have been drained dry. I want to be a cathartic experience. The technique makes the storytelling possible, and techniques will change. Production studios such as Toei are moving from cell animation to digital animation, where images are created as computer files instead of painted on clear sheets of plastic. Despite the wider use of computer animation, Moriyama expects anime will retain the look of painted cells and won't go into a modeled 3D look. If you're curious about Project Eiko, Moriyama's most famous creation, yes, Eiko's parents are Superman and Wonder Woman. He confirmed that. Also, the subplot of Seiko being an alien space princess was added to the film, with the decision was made to expand Eiko from a 30-minute cream lemon OAV to a full feature. I just threw all sorts of things I loved into Eiko, he said. After the author collected his thoughts about Anime Central, he placed them on this site. All right, let's read Kevin's last thoughts on Anime Central 1999. In 1998, the organizers of Anime Central hoped to get 600 people at their inaugural convention. They got 1,200. In 1999, more than 1,200 had registered as of Saturday morning, and speculation was the total attendance would be from 1,600 to 2,000. As in 1998, Kenichi Sanada was the star of the show, tireless in his sketching for fans, inhibited by the opinions about the state of the anime industry. By contrast, Yuji Moriyama was very modest and quiet for a man who has been a part of so many major films. At the Friday night guest reception, Moriyama had to be all but coaxed to sit at the table and meet the fans. When he started talking, Moriyama had some delightful insights on Project Eiko. When Amanda Wynn Lee had another racy performance with a rotund costumer at Masquerade, the other English language voice actors also brightened the convention. Those actors who provide many new voices for the American version of Pocket Monsters may have shown the future of anime fandom. Well, that shows power to draw new, young fans. The appeal of Pokemon could be seen in a growing combination at Anime Central, children brought to the convention by their parents. Anime fans from neighboring states drove through Friday's bad weather to get to Rosemont, Illinois, and the convention site. At, at least one flyer was seen from an anime club in Cincinnati, a 5-hour drive away. Tales of even longer drives were common. The longest trips, not in distance but in time, were by air for once. The Thursday storm dropped enough rain to flood several Chicago suburbs, also stopped flights to O'Hare Airport. Many fans said they had delays as long as 8 hours getting to the convention. The convention was popular. The hotel was not popular. When Anime Central asked fans to rate the Ramada Plaza O'Hare, one survey form gave the hotel a minus 10 on a scale of 10. The unpopularity probably started on Friday afternoon when a room registration line that stretched down most of the lobby. In fairness, the hotel was swamped with people who stayed longer than expected on Friday because their Thursday flights were canceled due to bad weather. There was plenty of room for functions at the hotel, but they were spread nearly a city block apart. The 4 video rooms and the art and model display were at the hotel's south end, and the main convention hall, panel rooms, and dealer's room were at the north end. Those panels were much larger than the cubbyholes and convention had to use in a 1998 hotel. Comfortable shoes were a must to get from one end of the hotel to the other. The rooms weren't really up to the standards of a hotel that charges $80 to $100 a night. Wow, I wish I could still be paying $80 to $100 a night. You know how much I'm paying for Emerald City Comic Con? The Ramada's rooms felt more like a $35 motel a mile away from the rural interstate interchange. Anime Central officials said they probably would find another hotel for $2,000. On Sunday, they were selling memberships for the next convention, and the author bought one. Sure enough, things were disorganized from time to time. Video room schedules changed, and events usually started late. There was the typical last-minute fiddling with sound and video equipment, and the lighting could have been brighter for the main convention stage. A typical photographer's lament that affects no one else. Still, there's little comparison between the frustrations and disasters of the real world and the things that go wrong at an anime convention. And things always go wrong. Why does the author of this webpage enjoy anime conventions so much? Because they're a wonderful escape from the real world. For example, oh geez, okay, deep breath. For example, the high school in Littleton, Colorado that was attacked on April 20th, 3 days before the start of Anime Central, was a short drive from the hotel in Lakewood, Colorado, where NonDiscon will be held. Last year, tornadoes struck just north of the hotel where Animazement was staged, and those twisters destroyed homes and killed people. A few weeks after Project Acon 9 in Texas, a man was dragged to his death in another part of the state, and a hurricane swept through North Carolina and Virginia in the weeks before the first NecoCon. This commentary shouldn't seem to suggest that disasters accompany anime conventions. They might follow the author, however. Could that massacre in Colorado have had an impact on anime fandom? It's not impossible. Consider that the parents of some of the children killed in a previous school shooting in Kentucky are suing 25 entertainment companies, claiming their programs inspired the boy who shot and killed their children. There's no doubt that some anime is violent. In Japan, the violent content may be seen as having a cathartic effect, but the nation has bullying, its own school violence problem. In the US, eventually the outside world could look at the violence in anime as an influence on children, with high schoolers being among those who are anime's largest audience. That could have an impact on the art form's distribution. And in Europe, violence is censored more than sex. This is not a call for censorship, which does more harm than good. It is an expression of hope that goodwill generated by anime conventions continues, and that America's tolerance for alternative entertainment isn't damaged by events in Colorado. Okay, we ended on a rather serious note here. I know Kevin likes to tie in current events with his reports as well. So, just wanted to give you guys some context if mention of current events of April 1999 may have thrown you off here. But I always found it interesting that Kevin would just tie in the state of the world with his final thoughts as well. He did mention, for example, Clinton's impeachment in the Katsucon 19. It was one of the Katsucon reports that we covered. And that was very interesting to also note that no one at the convention cared that the impeachment hearing was going on. Just kind of more of as a matter of fact, this is the reaction to that. However, with that said, thank you so much again for checking out Fansview Fridays. I always appreciate having people here at my virtual cottage where we can look back at memories shared by Kevin Lillard. We can look back at what anime conventions were like in the 90s. And this is a way to preserve our history because we don't want this history to get lost. Because we need to know what it was like back then in order to move forward. And Kevin Lillard was just such an amazing person who deserves every accolade that is given to him. And with that said, I also want to just give a shout out to my upcoming book, the Fangirl Diaries. This book is coming out soon this year. I'm just very excited to have this book come out. This book I dedicate to Kevin Lillard because this is about my own personal account going to conventions, being involved in anime fandom in the 90s and 2000s. Those kids, Ryan and Dave, were talking about, that was me during this time. And if you wanted to know what it was like to be a kid, to be a teenager, deemed cringy, who wore cat ears in high school, if you want to know what that experience was like in the 90s and early 2000s, yeah, check out my book. Learn what teen culture, what weeb teen culture was like back then. And just like how cosplay just really found its home online, and just the beginnings of cosplay just going mainstream, the beginnings of anime going mainstream, and the comparison of just how much can change in the course of 10 years when you go from getting fan subs to getting things on DVD, downloading BitTorrent files of anime, for better or worse, if it's legal or not legal. But I really want to be a voice in fandom history. I really want to talk about what this time period was like because this is my world, and I'm glad that I can share this world with you all. And with that said, thank you so much for checking out Fansview Fridays. We hope you like our channel, hit the subscribe button, do everything you can to support our channel. We also have our Ko-Fi, and definitely buy my book. More information in the About section, because if I'm at a convention, I would love to sign a copy. I would love to autograph your book. Anyway, with that said, thank you so much for tuning in. We're glad to always have you here at the Wisteria Cottage, whether you're watching live on Twitch, whether you're watching the video on demand on YouTube. Support our channel, support my book, information in the About section. And remember, the con is what you make of it, so make it a good one.